Hello and welcome to SuccessMaker training. Today what I'm going to show you is how to log in and how you can get your last session report so you can monitor student progress. The last session report is the bread and butter of SuccessMaker. So let's go ahead and log in. Ms. Bell, we're going to borrow your username and password. So we'll start with this. First of all, your username and password are the same username that is in the front of your email address, the first two initials and then your last name. So for example, Ms. Bell, K.R. Bell. We sign in. Your page will look something like this, and notice the different areas that you have. We have students and groups. Now notice, my students is highlighted, so whenever you click on something, or this is already pre-selected, it will turn yellow, meaning it's highlighted. To deselect it, you click on it again. And notice all the goals went away because none of the students are selected. Okay, so we'll move to groups. Now, all three of the groups are selected because of my groups. I'm going to deselect that. And just click on Ms. Bell's first period block, our first block. Okay, notice there's 22 students working towards a math usage goal and 22 students working toward their reading usage goals. So this is where we get most of our information, where you'll basically live for monitoring, adding students, and doing that kind of thing. Mastery is where you will check their different standards, and this is dealing with math. So notice you have here divide, combinations, so on and so forth. The green means it's mastered, and notice that the gray area here is all the students who have not mastered this skill yet. So a significant number have mastered this skill, and so you can go on and check that if you want to. But if you want to check reading, of course you move to reading. Alright, so very few students have mastered. Barely any of our students are actually out of initial placement. They're testing the levels to see exactly where they are. Let's move on to students. Next you have students. Here you have the name, the assignment, which is reading, and the assigned level, 7th grade. NIP means in initial placement. They're trying to find out what level the student is on, and that is where the program will begin to hopefully remediate the weaknesses within their learning and hopefully move them up to grade level. Now notice some students are set at a lower assigned level. This is based off of their ZPD or accelerated reader score. So if they were at a lower level, it's important to set the SuccessMaker program closer to their actual level so that they can actually be remediated on the proper level. Notice the student is still in initial placement. Okay, that's students. Courseware, you really won't deal very much with that because this is dealing with math and reading and the assignment of courses. And if you have some more questions about that, Ms. Simeon or myself can help you with that. But usually you won't deal with this at all. Let's move on down to probably the most important facet of this, running a report. Okay, so I'm going back to my students. Now my group, Bell, first period block. So after they finish a session in SuccessMaker, we would run a report. Now there's many different reports you can run, but the one you need to be most familiar with is the last session report. So additional grouping, you can group it any way that you want. You can, if you're running multiple groups, you can group it by first block, second block, third block. But since we're just doing first block, we're not going to do that. We can sort it by student name. This is useful. If you're going to reward students by students with the highest gain, you can do that, or whoever's on the highest course level is going to put the students in that order, so you don't have to go through and sort. So if you want to do exercises correct or exercises percent correct, it's going to list the students from highest to lowest in that category. So this is very handy if you're going to, again, reward students for their performance on that day or that week. and of course student name. You can display student ID or username, but usually you won't. Okay, so we're just going to leave it sorted as student, and then we would run it. Okay, especially if you haven't done it before, I've turned off the pop-up blocker, and you'll need to do that on your web browser in order to see the last session report. So notice all these students are mainly in initial placement. You have Daniel Webster here, who's out of initial placement and beginning to work the program. So you have your last session report. Now Mr. Mitchell and Ms. Simeon, so myself and Ms. Simeon, will be following up on how to read the last session report and how we can reward students. But this is the basic rundown and something you could reference to make sure that you know how to get your last session report, and we can move on from there. So this is Mr. Mitchell signing off. If you have any questions, please ask. SuccessMaker is going to be very important to our overall performance here at the school and our student success. So thanks, and we'll see you soon.